We start with the before and after. Two narrow single garage doors transformed into one wide double roller door. A simple change on the outside, but one that completely changes how the space works. Modern cars actually fit, which feels like a design feature that should have existed from the start. To get there, we need to deal with what's holding everything up. Inside, the garage is split into two, supported by a center pillar and timber bearing on a single course of brick. The plan is to remove all of that and replace it with a single steel beam spanning just over 5 meters, with enough bearing on each side to keep everything exactly where it should be. First job, support the roof. I've used acro props under each truss. Yes, it's an overkill, but I'm doing this on my own and for the first time, and I quite like the roof staying where it is. The props are set back just enough to give me space to maneuver the RSJ, which is already sitting inside at an angle, waiting for its moment. When installing the acro props, I made sure each one was set perfectly vertical and positioned on a solid timber base for stability. Each prop was securely fixed, screwed into the base at the floor and into the timber spanning across the trusses above. This setup ensured everything stayed in place. And as I adjusted the acro props, the load of the roof was safely transferred and lifted in a controlled way. With the roof supported, I start lifting the trusses slightly to create a gap between the timber and the brickwork. Once there's daylight coming through, the garage doors can come out, which you might also notice a questionable DIY solar setup on the wall. In hindsight, that probably should have come down earlier. With the doors gone, the opening starts to take shape. I remove the outer skin brickwork, followed by the existing lintels, surprisingly manageable. No heroics required there. Then it's on to the inner skin, taking just enough out to allow the steel to be angled into place. Everything gets cleaned up and the center pillar comes out, and it's suddenly the space opens right up. End of day one, structure prepped and ready. I brought in a super lift and beam lifters, mainly because I'd like to keep all my fingers and avoid becoming a cautionary tale. Before lifting, I add a damp-proof tape where the steel meets the timber. Small detail, but it's important for long-term durability. A center mark goes in the beam to keep everything balanced, and with a couple of jacks, I get it high enough to bring the lift into play. Once it's up, I add a few extra coats of galvanized spray. It came protected, but a few scratches during delivery won't be the thing that lets it down. Now the careful bit. The beam goes onto its first bearing point, leaving enough space on the other side to rotate it in. This is where things get interesting. Tight space, heavy steel, and very little room for error. The super lift earns its keep here as a backup while I adjust the beam lifters and slowly persuade the RSJ into position. Millimeter by millimeter, a little bit of leverage, a bit of patience, and a little bit of encouragement with a hammer, it drops perfectly into place. Honestly, that moment alone makes the whole effort worth it. The original plan called for pad stones, but they were too thick, so I switched to the engineering bricks. Quick call to the engineer, all approved, and we move on. Next up, mortar, 5 parts sand, 1 part cement, and apparently premium Devon water. I'll be honest, bricklaying isn't my strongest skill, but if you don't try, you don't improve. And let me know what you think in the comments, how I did. Please, be gentle. The beam gets bedded in, everything is level, and surprisingly it's spot on. At this point I'm quietly impressed with myself. The supports come away, leaving the beam in place overnight to set. Now just to be clear, this isn't a beginner DIY project. I've spent over 30 years around construction working on major builds including stadiums and large-scale projects. So I understand the risks and what it takes to do this safely. If you're not confident, get a professional in. No question. But for me, can I do it? Yes, I absolutely can, and I did it on my own. Day 3, and it's time for the moment of truth. The RSJ is now taking the full load of the roof. The acros come down, slowly, carefully, and everything holds exactly as it should. A bit more mortar goes in to lock everything in tight and prevent any movement. Not that it's going anywhere, short of a truck coming through the front. Final checks. Level is perfect, structure is solid. Job done. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like or a dislike. I'll take either, and drop a comment. It really helps the channel, and if we hit 1,000 subscribers, apparently I'm allowed to take on another project, according to my wife.